Day 3 of the Copenhagen Major has just wrapped up and sparks were flying once again. 3 more teams have been cast aside, ready to hit the beaches and sip some margaritas because they are out of the tournament, and 3 teams have advanced to the next stage. We are rapidly approaching the end of the opening stage of the Major, as tomorrow we'll see the final set of games to determine our final 3 teams advancing and our final 3 teams exiting. But before we get there, we have to discuss everything that happened today, including one of the biggest meltdowns I've seen in recent Major history. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every single subscription helps on my journey to reaching 1,000 subscribers. Also, consider becoming a channel member today. For $5 a month, you can support me directly in what I do and gain access to exclusive emblems, emotes, as well as a shoutout at the end of every video. And while you're down there, consider following me on Twitch as well. I stream Sunday through Friday every night at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be playing Counter-Strike tonight, talking about the Major. It'll be a good time. Come heckle me about my pick'ems. Without any further ado, let's get into the match breakdowns. Alright, we are well into the good stuff at this point. Everything from here on out in the opening stage are your best of 3 series. And starting off, we had the Mongolz taking on Lynn Vision. We had the Battle of Asia to see who was going to survive and who would be eliminated. Unfortunately, going into this matchup, the Mongolz had a huge advantage as they beat Lynn Vision in all of their recent matchups, including at the Asia RMRs. Lynn Vision, already not playing well this tournament, we're definitely on the back foot, but we go to Ancient for our first map, and frankly, we kind of saw that play out. The box score feels a little deceiving. You see 13-8 and you're like, oh, well that must have been kind of a close game. But the closer you look, the more you realize that the Mongols were in control the entire time without letting their foot off the gas. Granted, Ancient is a T-sided map, but Mongols ran off 9 rounds on the first half, and then Lynn Vision managed to get some control, run their pistol plus 3 more on their T-side to get 4 rounds on the second half. But as soon as Mongols got control on the CT side, they won their next 3, and the game was basically over. And when you look at the fragging for this first map, it's a good even spread from Lynn Vision. The 23 frag performance from Techno was simply too much, and there were just too many rounds where Mongols were able to clutch up, and that was the difference. Moving to Anubis and their tournament on the line, Lynn Vision simply couldn't get anything going. The Mongols started out on the T side again, and had another incredibly dominant half, taking 9 rounds once again. And despite Westmelon for Lynn Vision leading the server with 19 frags, it didn't matter when the rest of his team went missing on the final map. Mongols take the final map decisively, 13-6, they advance to the 2-2 bracket, and they're looking good to try and qualify even though things look shaky the last 2 days. Moving on to our first upper bracket match of the day with Eternal Fire versus Gamer Legion. And going into this, I felt like this series was going to be very evenly matched up. I liked the star power on Eternal Fire better, but the cohesive unit and the in-game leading of Gamer Legion stood out to me as being better overall during this tournament. I felt like the consistency of Gamer Legion was going to be the factor in letting them win this series, because again, Eternal Fire have been so inconsistent in their individual performances, and we saw that play out. The first map went to Overpass, and they got embarrassed. Granted, as we pointed out yesterday, Gamer Legion just don't seem to lose on Overpass, and they showed that here, going 13-4 and stomping, absolutely destroying Eternal Fire out of this first map in a way that I thought they would not be able to recover from. I mean, there was so much comedy of errors from Eternal Fire on their CT side that it was embarrassing. Miscommunications, bad rotates, being too exposed by T-side utility, you name it. One round that definitely stands out to me, Eternal Fire had a 5v3 retake post plant on the B site, and they let Snacks get 2 1v1s down by Graffiti. They were struggling to get out of heaven as a group, and they wasted so much time that despite them again having a 5v3 advantage, killing the terrorists and getting the bomb site, by the time they got there, they didn't have any time to defuse, and both of the remaining players died to the bomb explosion. So you lost a winnable situation, and then lost all of your economy off the back of it, and then Gamer Legion were able to run off a string of rounds off the back of that economic advantage. It just looked like Eternal Fire were sloppy, they weren't going to be able to do it. Importantly, Zontaris played the worst map of his tournament so far on this opener, only getting 4 frags throughout the duration. Conversely, Woxic actually showed up for the first time in what felt like 3 series, so why can't Woxic and Zontaris show up at the same time? That's a big deal for this team, they need to frag together, and in this game they just couldn't do it. Also, shout out to Isaac, who had 2 1v2 clutches for Gamer Legion down the stretch that were pivotal in securing the game. Moving to the next map, Inferno, and as seems to be just how this tournament is going for Eternal Fire, we saw another Jekyll and Hyde performance. They walked into Inferno and kicked Gamer Legion in the teeth, 13-4, stomped them right out of the server, dominated the T-side, running off 10 T-side rounds on a version of Inferno that everyone agrees is terrible for the Ts. They were out fragging Gamer Legion, they were out maneuvering them, they were better in every imaginable way that they weren't on the first map on Inferno. But again, gotta highlight this. Zontaras, top of the server, 19 kills. Wakadia, 17 kills. Where is Woxic? Bottom of the scoreboard, 6. Granted, Inferno is not traditionally a good op map, but why can't these two play together? And then we go to Vertigo, the Decider, and man, what a bloodbath this map was. This is a map to go back and watch. It was entertaining front to back, back and forth. These teams trading momentum and streak after streak. Gamer Legion would run off 3 rounds, and then Eternal Fire would fire right back and go on their own streak. And then we finally got it. Zontaras, Woxic, fragging in the same game together. Both of them top of the scoreboard. Zontaras with 20, Woxic with 15, Wakadia with 18. This is what you want to see from Eternal Fire. This is that form that could actually do something in the elimination stage. Eternal Fire do it, they get the comeback to win 13-11 and advance to the elimination stage, but this was close. This came down to Gamer Legion for once not being able to really close out rounds like we've seen them do in the past. They've been very good on Vertigo in this tournament, but down the stretch, those last 4 rounds, 3 in a row having to go to save situations at the time running out, and then losing the last minute defuse in the smoke is heartbreaking. But Gamer Legion, they've been playing really good this tournament. They're going to go into this 2-2 bracket tomorrow, and I feel very confident about their chances of winning because they've shown great form so far. Moving on to our next lower bracket series, we had Legacy against Apeks. And going into this, I would have given Apeks the benefit of the doubt that they could clutch up against Legacy. Obviously, I've been very negative about Legacy throughout this tournament as I don't believe in this roster whatsoever. And Apeks, I think, are a better constructed team with better overall talent. But here, I don't know, man. The Apeks that we saw at the RMR did not show up to the major at all. They were just not in it, it felt like, at all. The fragging was good, but the strat calling felt very lacking. When we look at the first map on Ancient, how were you on Ancient, a traditionally T-sided map in this current meta, letting Legacy run off 9 rounds on their CT side, and running off a streak of 8 that looked very convincing with them in full control, just taking map control and shutting you out entirely? When you look at the box score, I mean, Jacob and Nock, they showed up, did what they had to do, 18 kills on 16 respectively, but Sense, Sticko, Kakanito, they were awful, just truly dreadful, and in a way that you just can't really allow in such an important game. And when you look at Legacy, this is the first time for me in this tournament that I saw the whole team come together to really play as a team performance and do well. Traditionally, this has been coldzera as the man and the myth, the reason they're in the game or out of it, but here, this was a team effort. Barton with 20 kills leading the server, coldzera with 16 and a 1.27 rating, Lotto with 15 of his own, and Dumao bringing up the rear with 12 on decent differentials. Even Nekas had 14 of his own on admittedly kind of poor rating, but everyone was doing what they needed to do, and that helped them jump out to this 1-0 lead, and going into the next map, they just carried that momentum. Now this is Inferno, and even though Legacy won 3 out of the first 4, once Apeks got control of its CT side economy, they ran off 5 straight, dropping the last round of the half to really keep it close and trim, and then, again, Legacy just seemed to be the better team in this match, which is surprising to me. We swapped to the CT half, and we never looked back. Legacy go 8 straight to close out the map and the series and send Apeks packing. Again, this is really surprisingly how balanced this is from Legacy. Dumao, again, 20 kills, 1.65 rating. Lotto, 18 kills, 1.51 rating. coldzera, 16 with a 1.32. Everyone is positive and over a 1 rating for Legacy, which is just so much better than what Apeks brought forward. Apeks really underperformed and disappointed me. I had them going through my 3-1-3-2 bracket, and now they're going home. See you guys on the beach, get a drink, because your season is over. Speaking of things feeling over, we move on to our next upper bracket game. We had Saw versus Pain Gaming, and going into this, if you told me that Saw were going to lose, I would have laughed in your face. I think Saw, based on current form, were the better team, but Pain Gaming are on fire right now, and I can't deny that. I underrated them coming in, but Bigazera is a star, bordering on superstar level talent blossoming before our eyes. And finally, he got some help, because Nisum right behind him was incredible on both of these maps. And spoiler alert, they do 2-0 Saw. Our first map on Vertigo was a banger. It was a bloodbath. It was back and forth. Both teams just sucker punching each other for big damage left and right. But the fragging as a team from Pain Gaming was just better. Saw, I think, are a little shook up from their loss to Cloud9 yesterday, because the story of both of these games were the stars not showing up. Eridos and Roman in the middle of the pack with negative ratings. Story continuing to not really show good form on the op. They relied on Udrix, who's been kind of just okay through this tournament, to go out of control with 20 kills and a 1.2 rating, but it just wasn't enough, and they go down 13-10, and then we move on to Nuke for the decider. And Saw have been great on Nuke in this tournament, but Pain have been better on Nuke so far, and it shows. 13-7, Pain win the series, and it comes off the back of, again, a great team effort, but Bigazera, Nisum, and then Cowiz as well? You got Bigazera and Nisum both putting up 1.4 ratings, 17 and 18 frags respectively. Cowiz with 16, and then Lux not far behind with 12. Just a total team effort to shut Saw down. And again, it's just not good from Saw on the other side. No positive ratings anywhere on the board. No one really close to showing any good form that we'd seen in their previous days. And then their strats just kind of felt lacking. I think Saw can make it still. I think they're good enough to do it, but they got to recover. This was a wake-up call that they can't just breeze through the competition. But now, you got to knuckle down, guys. You're good enough to do this. And moving on to our last lower bracket game of the day, we had Fraud Watch the movie. ENCE versus Furia. Loser goes home. Both these teams touted to do well in this tournament. Both of them putting up pitiful performances on day 1 and 2. So the question is, who was going to out-mid who? And going in, I really thought ENCE could not lose this game. I thought ENCE were by far better than what Furia could offer. But I was wrong. Deha, awful. I'm sorry, Deha. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But I think my good friend Shaq just found your next team.
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao! Ni hao! Ni hao!
And frankly, maybe Glaive should join you, because the calling in this series was dreadful. The first map, Mirage, was sloppy on both sides, but Furia held it together slightly better. I mean, there were team kills, body blocking, miscommunication, bad rotates. We had it all on display here on both sides from ENCE. They just looked not together. I don't really know what Glaive was doing with the strat book, but once we got to T side, they just couldn't do anything. Furia played a great team game in terms of production here, and that was what was most shocking to me. Players like Art and Yuri and Fallen had been game to game and not very good, relying on Serato and Cello to carry. But Art, 19 kills, 143 rating. Yuri, a 124 rating with 13. Fallen staying positive with 13 kills and great impact with the op. Cello, 18 kills on a 1.53 rating. And then there's Serato right in the middle of the pack with 16. This was just, they out-fragged ENCE at every single corner. And frankly, we had the same story on Ancient. The playbook here from ENCE was bad. This T-side was dreadful. Furia jump out a 5-0 lead to start. And once again, you look at the box scores, no one gets above a 1.0 rating for ENCE throughout this game, and that just can't happen. Deha, bottom fragging, 0.63 rating. You were supposed to be one of the stars of this team, dog, and you're one of the worst players in this tournament. And then we see the Furia that we expected at the beginning of this tournament. Serato, Cello, 21 and 22 frags respectively. Fallen, admittedly not a good game, but he got the op kills he needed to. But Art and Yuri bring him the rear going positive. Like, that's what you want to see out of Furia. And it's kept them alive. They have one more chance to make it to the elimination stage. And we say goodbye to ENCE. Hit the beaches, Glaive. Get a margarita. Look at the strat book and start over. Because you're in Cancun instead of in Copenhagen from here on. And finally, our last and longest series of the day. We had Ecstatic and Imperial in the upper bracket. And man, the story of this series straight out the gate is Naughtyos playing absolutely out of his head for the series. He goes for 60 frags, a 1.3 rating for the series, a plus 19 kill death differential, 99 ADR. Just an insane performance when Ecstatic really needed it to secure their spot in the elimination stage. Starting on Anubis, there's not much to be said. Ecstatic win 13-4 in convincing fashion. The name of the game here for Ecstatic was Kragan and Nodios just taking over the fragging department. Kragan would lead the match with 22 frags, a 2.24 rating, and a 139 ADR. That is superstar level production out of him when they really needed it. Nodios not that far behind with 18 and a 1-5 rating. And then over on the Imperial side, this was a very quiet performance. Decenti, no way. Phelps not really getting activated. Henny missing on the omp. Vinny, the in-game leader, is the only positive rating player, which you just can't have. We move to Inferno, and what a duel to the very end this map ended up being. We'd open up with Ecstatic on the T side of Inferno here. We would split the half 6-6, and both teams were just trading big round after big round. Once again, looking at the fragging here, Nodios, Queenix with 22 and 18 respectively, and then finally we got some great production out of Imperial. No Way with 20, Decenti with 18, Vinny with 16. This was just the whole team firing on all cylinders, everybody above a 1.0 rating. We go to the second half, and Imperial enter the T side looking to do damage here. They win the pistol, they lose the second round in dramatic fashion, but it doesn't matter because they run off the next 3, establishing a great economy. Ecstatic fire back 2 more wins of their own, and then at that point, Imperial lock in. They win the next round convincingly off the back of great strategy once again. They lose to time here, they have to save on the very next round. Great defense by Ecstatic, but Imperial, they wanted to go to the third map. They win the next 2 convincingly, and we move on to Vertigo. And this is where the series went out of control. We get to Vertigo, and what happens? Ecstatic on the CT side run off 11 rounds to Imperial's 1 on the final map, the decider for this series. Imperial go missing, it seems, at the biggest moment. Again, you look at these scores. Queenix, Nodios playing out of their minds on the CT side, while Imperial struggle to get anything going. And you think 11-1, there's no way Imperial are in this. But we move to the CT side. Imperial win the first 4, getting some great momentum going and establishing early economy, denying the defuse on the 4th round from Ecstatic. But then, a shocker, Ecstatic get their map point on round 5. Off the back of what felt like a massive mistake in rotation by Imperial, they left the B side open. Decenti, the lone guardian, looking over mid and B, he misses the chance at a double kill that might have shut Ecstatic out of the round. And it goes from being a 5v5 to a 4v2 just like that, and Imperial have to save and try and keep themselves in it. But because of that save, they managed to win the next 4, and it looks like, oh, are Imperial going to push this to an overtime? And then finally, Ecstatic breakthrough again, shutting down with an excellent bomb site take to win the game and the series and advance through to the next stage. Imperial still have a chance to make it through. They looked okay in the series, they looked shaky, but I think Ecstatic were the better team overall, and Imperial have a great chance considering the schedule, which we will go over right now. Now tomorrow, our last 3 games of the opening stage, we have Legacy versus Mongolz as the opening series. I'm going to go ahead and take Mongolz to beat this. I think Mongolz are the best team in Asia. They're on an uptick in form coming through the lower bracket, and I just don't trust Legacy in the clutch with this lineup. Then, we have Imperial versus Gamer Legion. This should go all 3 games. I think these teams are actually very evenly matched considering current form. I like Snacks as an IGL, and I love the cohesiveness of this Gamer Legion roster thus far, but I think the star power on Imperial is better. I think Imperial will win 2-1. Finally, Saw versus Furia as the last game. Now, I'm biased. I think Saw should win, but for the sake of my pick'ems, for this one time, I am relying on Fallen to lead me to the promised land. I have a feeling he won't, but it would be great if he did. Whew, what an exciting day of Counter-Strike, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another recap. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe for more. Let me know how ruined your guys' pick'ems are, because mine are still holding on for vain hope. Also, shout out to my channel members, Burley707, Justin and Jesse, my brothers. Thank you guys so much for all the encouragement and support. Again, I'll see you guys soon with another one. Peace.